Buckle up, folks. This podcast is all about diving into the good, the bad, and the ugly of our bodily, spiritual, and mental experiences. If you are not prepared to challenge your assumptions, laugh at yourself, laugh at me, or maybe even shed a tear or two, then you might want to look elsewhere. But if you're ready to get real, get honest, and get a little weird, then welcome to the Just Chrissy podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy McCammon. Welcome back, friends. It's Chrissy, your host and owner of Rooted in Wellness. We are on day 15 of the 30-day health reset, and that means we're halfway there. Unbelievable. Well, today I want to talk about hormones, not so much our hormones, but what we're buying in the majority of the meat. It is so pumped full of steroids, estrogens, and growth hormones, and they do it in order to stimulate the production of more muscle tissue because that makes the animal heavier so they can produce more meat, which then allows them to charge you more money, and milk production. So the FDA has been allowing these hormones in animals since like the 1950s, but in the 1990s, many governments allowed for the use of recombinant bovine somatotropin, or you might see it on packaging as RBST. And there's another one called recombinant bovine growth hormones, which you might see as RBGH. The good news is that countries in like the European Union, Canada, Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and Israel have been starting to ban the substances. And I think that I have seen some packaging that says does not contain these little initials. But hopefully we will be also enforcing that here in the United States. One of the reasons that these hormones are like hot debate material is that the studies have found that milk from RBGH hormone has 10 times the amount of growth hormones as regular milk. And this is why, like, when you ask me, I'm like, do not buy the milk in the store. Like, go to your local farm that has raw milk. I like A2 cows. And buy your milk there. It's not... listen, the hormones are ridiculous. Okay, so anyway, the reason it has 10 times the amount of growth hormones as regular milk, which the signature for that is IGF-1. And it is IGF-1. You're probably going to write these things down because you're going to be like, oh yeah, she said something about the milk and these letters. And so IGF-1, it is IGF-1 that the American Cancer Society and other groups have linked to prostate, colon, and other types of cancer. There's studies on this. You can look it up. The larger amounts of hormones present in meat and dairy go well beyond implications for cancer because our little girls that should still be babies are beginning puberty at much younger ages today, with some girls beginning their menstrual cycles under 10 years old. Listen, girls are born with the amount of eggs that they will have for their entire life already in them. So if what actually is normal, a girl shouldn't get her period till she's 15 or 16, and she's starting at the age of 10 releasing eggs, she has lost 5 or 6 years of eggs by the time she's 16 years old. Think about that for a minute. A young girl's physiology and psychology is simply not biologically programmed to have the ability to carry a baby in a child's body. In addition to the issues mentioned above, the meat industry uses a host of chemicals to treat the meat before it makes its way to the stores and in restaurants. And in order you can look into this. Like they use radiation, they spray the meat. I just saw the other day where they did bacon. So they actually inject bacon with coloring, which we'll talk about, to give it its red look. And then like where we used to cure it to give it that nice smoky flavor, they are literally spraying it with chemicals to give it that nice smoky flavor. So what you're getting is basically chemicals, red dye, and chemicals that give a smoky flavor. Also, I know some of you that followed me for a long time were mortified when I posted the hot dog video. But let's talk about ground beef and sausage. The fact that sausage and ground beef often comes from thousands of cattle, not just one, and it contains hooves, bone, anus meat, and parts of the animal's brain. This is often why meat contamination is so high. If you have interest, check out how over 50% of all antibiotics, I think it's higher than that actually now. I'm reading this from a book by Dr. Cabral, but I had heard it at 75% like a year or two ago, but we'll go with 50. We'll be generous. 50% of all antibiotics are being used on the farm animals to keep them from dying due to the unnatural and deplorable diet they're fed. But not only the diet they're fed, they are jammed together, hoof to hoof, inside these concrete pens, holding pens. We have a local farm that I've seen doing this I wouldn't buy meat from them if you paid me to. If you gave me the meat, I wouldn't take it because these animals are in there beside each other, and to prevent them from getting sick, they will shoot them up with antibiotics, every one of them, because they know it's deplorable conditions and they're not going to be healthy, and so they will give them the antibiotics to keep them healthy. And like say Fruit Loops and things like that are just like companies are just going to get rid of it. They'll give it to the farmers. The farmers will feed that to the animals. And what happens when we eat a bunch of food like that? We get a lot of inflammation. What is the inflammation? It's the swelling up of our cells. Same thing happens to the animals. So they put on a lot of water weight that you are then paying for in your meat. And if you think about when you first go on to a clean eating program and you stop putting all these adjuvants into your body, like things that cause the inflammation, when you stop putting them into your body and you're giving your body what it needs, when you do that within that first week, like you may lose 5 to 9 pounds. Well, that's not AKA fat, quote unquote fat. That's inflammation coming out of your body. When they feed these animals these crappy foods like corn and grain instead of grass. Yes, corn has, look it up, it's glyphosate. Look it up. It also does damage to you, but that's what they're eating, and then they're getting inflamed, and it puts on water weight, so they make more money. You really want to find local, single-sourced, hormone-free meat, eggs. We raise our own eggs. We give them an organic diet. Our chickens won't even eat corn. Like the animals know. But if you make that their only option, what are they going to do? It's like us. We get so used to that. And get your dairy local. Make that, like, start searching out your sources and utilizing these people. And honestly, like my eggs, I sell for $3 a dozen, and they're organically fed. You can't even buy eggs for that much in the store. Okay, so then you have the food preservatives that are added to meat and other products to prevent discoloration and rotting, and it extends the shelf life. So they're adding preservatives to your meat that you're getting. Preservatives are often hidden on the labels, but when they do show up, they may be called sulfites, nitrates, MSG, sodium, benzoate, I might not say these right, propylgallate, aspartame, butylated hydroxytoluene or BHT, and phosphoric acid. These food preservatives have been linked to cancer in lab animals, asthma and allergic reactions associated with chemicals such as sulfates and nitrates, which they prevent discoloration in meat and are considered one of the worst food additives ever created for human health. Bowel symptoms such as nausea and diarrhea, which could be part of an allergic reaction. Preterm, premature births, artificial sweeteners cause that. Hyperactivity, attention to deficit disorder in children. Human resistance to antibiotics because you're ingesting them in your meat all the time. Headaches from substances such as monosodium glutamate or MSG. Increased risk of heart disease from the accumulation of phosphates in the body. Risk of weight gain from added sugars and sweeteners and hormones or substances that interfere with your hormone regulation. Neurological problems like those from aspartame consumption. Also, you need to pay attention. We talked about the food dyes in the bacon. Food dyes are placed in many beverages to give them colors. Children's treats and candies often have these dyes as well. And they're given fun names like yellow number 5, yellow number 6, red number 40. However, they've gotten smart and now they've changed these. So you got to pay attention because like blue number 1 is now called brilliant blue. And blue number 2 is indigotine. And green 3 is fast green. Red number 40 is Allura red. Yellow number 5 is tartrazine. Yellow number 6 is sunset yellow. This red number 3, erythrocine. So you really need to watch out for these things because numerous children and adult learning and behavioral issues are directly correlated to preservatives and food dyes. So there's so many things to look for, but you have to really be specific about moving these chemicals from your children's diets. When we travel in other countries, like Cheetos, it doesn't have like Cheetos, like the crunchy snack. It doesn't have that bright orange color. It tastes just fine without the bright orange color. Oh, it can make a huge difference to create positive changes in your mood, the children's mood, your mood, cognitive abilities within just a few weeks of removing it. Also, people suffering from psoriasis, eczema, and other skin issues see remarkable improvement once they take the offending foods and preservatives out of their plan. So I just want to point these things out. Like, try to get your food locally at the farmer's market. Find a local farmer who does grass-fed and grass-finished. Because if you say you want grass-fed beef, they can be like, yeah, we give them grass-fed beef. Well, you know what I've seen? I've seen them taking like cut grass that people cut and throwing that into their feed. You want them out eating grass that's actually growing in the field. And then a lot of times too, they'll do the grass-fed, but then they'll do where they finish them on grain, and you don't want that either. So you definitely want to buy local, make sure they're not using antibiotics, make sure the cows are out in the field getting fed from birth to death. And even my farmer is humane, because this is another thing. A lot of times they line these cows up to butcher them, and the cows know that they're I don't know what word I want, scared to death. And so they have that, just the same as we have that cortisol rush whenever we have to run away from a bear. They get that because they know they're going to die. And then there's this rush of chemicals that goes throughout the meat because they're the fear. And so if you can find a farmer who humanely kills their animals, also that's a bonus, which I do have one. And if anybody would like the contact of my farmer, I'm happy to share that. You have to schedule because he'll raise the beef for you. And then find local eggs where the chickens are out getting sunshine, where they're out getting organic feed or eating off the land, so that your eggs have all the wonderful, to me, an egg is a vitamin in a capsule. But yeah, these are all things. Get the dyes out of your food, out of your children's food. And yeah, there are a lot of changes. I literally, like, if I eat a burger the meat was bought at big box store, I can smell it and know that it's not right. And your body will start to know, and it will reject it. It'll tell you that it's not good, but you have to get cleaned up and you have to get out of those habits first. Okay, everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go apply the knowledge.